I've just set up a board that in my opinion could be the best setup for Slappy grinds. Now I know that's a big call, but I'm going to go over exactly why I chose each component to this setup and what you should be considering when it comes to setting up your own Slappy board. Slappy grinds are already hard enough as it is, so using these little setup hacks and tips that I'm about to give you will make Slappy so much easier and a whole lot more fun to do. But first I want to warm up and get used to this new board a little bit, and then we'll get into all of the Slappies. Short nose is deadly. That's so weird. Just gotta whiff it. I honestly don't think I can do better than that. Maybe nollie trade because it's just a whiffy trick. Still better than the nollie flip. So a breakdown of this setup and why I think this could be the best Slappy setup is because I'll start with the board. It's a 10-inch heroin egg board. It's classed as a pig egg shape. That's why the nose is so short. Egg boards already help with Slappy grinds because the nose is tapered so you can get up the curves easier, but having an even shorter nose on an egg board should help it even more. Less nose means less resistance and less nose that's actually in the way when you're going up into Slappies. That's the first reason this is going to be good. Second reason, it's 10 inches wide. So it's wide, you've got a big base of support to stand your feet on and feel comfortable with, and with wide boards come wide trucks. I'm running these independent inverted Kingpin base plates, and I've taken my hangers from my 169 Forge hollow trucks and put them on here. I did make a video about these recently, so these are off my main setup for now. The reason why these trucks are going to work so well is because they're wide, so as you're getting up the curb, you've got a lot of room to roll up the curb into your grinds, and once you're in there, there's a lot of hanger space to grind as well. And a bonus with this board is it has wheel wells as well, so you want to have loose trucks when you're doing Slappy grinds, which is going to help with the S-carve into it. Plus looser trucks are going to help you roll up the curb better and get into it easier as well. So having wheel wells on your board is going to allow you to get even sharper turns without getting wheel bite on the way in. Another reason I would recommend getting inverted trucks for your Slappy setup is because the Kingpin is much lower. There's so much more grind clearance, which means as you're grinding up the curb, there's no Kingpin that's going to get in the way of it as well. And once you're up on the curve, a lot of people like to do different combos and variations, so you can switch between grinds without the Kingpin getting in the way or digging in as well. So definitely recommend inverted trucks for Slappy grinds. Now the wheels, I dug out my Andy Anderson 52mm nano cubic wheels. These wheels are super interesting and really good for Slappies because they are offset, so the bearings sit closer to the inside of the wheel, which opens up your hanger space even more for more grinds, pushes the wheel over the axle nut, which is going to protect the axle nut when you're bashing up into the curbs, and the outside of the wheel has their climb profile, which is super rounded and helps roll up the curb into Slappy grinds even more. I've done videos about all this different stuff that I'll have linked below, but these wheels were really good for Slappy grinds. And they're a 97A, so I feel like when I was bashing up into Slappies on these wheels previously, that the softer wheel kind of absorbed that impact and just made it feel way more fluent getting up into Slappies. So I've dug these wheels back out because they were perfect for Slappies and they're going to suit this setup perfectly as well. As for the rest, I've just got Bones Red's bearings, which are cheap and reliable. I pretty much use them all the time, and just some standard deck bolts that I had laying around. I don't even know what they are. They are 1 inch, usually I go 7/8, and of course deck rails, because deck rails are super fun to have on your board. Plus they open up different tricks like board slides to hurricanes, feebles, hurricanes, barleys, all that type of stuff. Because you've got this clearance here, you can push your heels or toes down and use that as a leverage to turn your truck into different grinds. So definitely a staple having deck rails on a Slappy board. So now you can start to see exactly why this setup is going to be the best for Slappy grinds and why this is going to make Slappy so much easier and so much more fun to do. But let's get into all of those Slappy grinds on the curbs that are here so you can see this setup in action and why you should start considering little tweaks like I've done here. Then I can get to the bottom of if this is actually the best Slappy setup and what you should be keeping in mind on your own Slappy grind setup. But I'm sure you can already see all the things that I'm going to be mentioning based off of how I've set this board up myself. So let's go get into the Slappies. how this works so well. I've never Slappy 50'd a curb like this before. This feels so fun. This honestly feels like cheating. This goes in so well. Wow. What was that? Gonna end with a Slappy front 50 on this, because I've never done that. I only just learned Slappy back 50s on this type of curb. So getting a front 50 will be a double win today. Oh, that felt sick. I could probably do a better one though. Whoa. Oh, almost. That's me. This setup really did make all of those Slappy grinds feel so much easier. Keep in mind though, that main Slappy curb I was skating has a slight angle up to it, so it's obviously going to be easier to get up on top of into the grinds. But the 90-degree curb I was skating as well felt just as easy to roll up and get up into those grinds too. I know a lot of you are going to say it was easy because I had the beveled curb, but it worked just as easy on the 90-degree curb as well. So every little detail towards this setup came together so well, and I'm so happy to actually have a dedicated Slappy setup that I can continue to use and practice on and get better at Slappy grinds. I'll give a disclaimer that you can learn Slappy grinds on any setup, but they are already hard enough, so why wouldn't you want to fine-tune your setup to make it easier to do Slappy grinds? And they also become more fun that way too. So a quick rundown of the setup hacks and the considerations you should be keeping in mind is, first of all, having a wider board. A wider board is going to give you more stability, and that's going to come with wider trucks too. It doesn't have to be an egg board, but egg boards definitely help me with Slappies because the nose is tapered and makes it easier to get up into Slappy grinds. Wider trucks are going to have more hanger surface to grind on, and there's going to be more to grind up and get up into the Slappy grind, so it'll roll up better. Inverted kingpins are definitely going to help. There's going to be no chance of you digging your kingpin in on the way up into grinds or when you're on top of the curb doing different combos and stuff either. So definitely recommend inverted kingpin trucks. Small wheels are going to be helpful as well. Same theory as the tapered nose. There's going to be less wheel to get in the way and bash up into the curb. So for Slappies, I find anywhere from 50 to 54 mil maximum is the sweet spot. That's why these 52 mil nano cubics work perfectly. And on top of that, I'd say a wheel with a rounded edge will be much more helpful too, since there is more angle for it to roll up the curb into your grinds. And they are the main considerations and tips I would give you to make your own Slappy setup and make Slappies easier and more fun. And that's why I've set this board up exactly how it is, and my Slappies are going to be so much more fun and easy for me from now on. So now you know the setup hacks and considerations to make when you're setting up your next Slappy board. The next step is to start mastering Slappy grinds, which you can do in this video right here.